Support for South African returnees. Grants, loans, and skill programs available in Nigeria 2026 update. Many Nigerians and many other Africans have been asked to leave South Africa and they return to their home country. Now, what are the supports that are available? Many people will say there's no support. There's one or two support that the local government, the Nigerian government, or the country, any African country will provide for anyone returning from any country like that. So the return of thousands of Nigerians and Africans from South Africa has prompted government agencies, non-government organizations, and private sectors actors to announce various support programs. While these interventions are politically significant, their practical utility for returnees require critical examination. This video provides a dispassionate assessment of available grants and loans and skills programs for South African returnees in 2026. It highlights accessibility constraints, eligibility requirements, and structural limitations that determine actual benefit. Number one is federal government intervention programs. The federal government, through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, has historically coordinated returnee support initiatives. In 2026, the announced interventions include Returnee Rehabilitation Fund, a proposed fund targeting displaced Nigerians, offering conditional cash transfers and business startup grants. However, implementation has been inconsistent with disbursement delays and opaque beneficiary selection criteria. But with this drawback, it doesn't mean that you cannot see if you can get it. So you explore, go to where you think, go to the local government, go to the ministry in charge and see how Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs in your state and see what can be done. Then we also have the Empower reintegration track. This is an adaptation of the Empower program, offering temporary employment placements for returnees in public sector roles. Constraints include limited slots, delayed salary payments, and the temporary nature of the placements, typically 12 to 24 months. Then we also have Bank of Industry, BOI micro intervention loans. Bank of Industry offers low interest loans for micro entrepreneurs and micro enterprises, including returnees. However, collateral requirements, lengthy approval processes, and the need for formal business registration exclude many returnees operating informally. We also have these critical constraints across federal programs include bureaucratic bottlenecks, political interference in beneficiary selection, and inadequate funding relative to the scale of return. Returnees should verify program status through official channels before relying on announced intervention. Now, another one is state government initiatives. Several state governments, particularly Lagos, Kano, Rivers, and Anambra, have introduced returnee support measures. Lagos State Entrepreneurship Training and Grant Scheme. This offers skills training and conditional grants up to 100,000 to 500,000 for returnees presenting viable business plans. However, the application process is competitive and disbursement is often delayed. Then we also have that of Rivers State, which is referred to as Rivers State Returnee Empowerment Program. This provides vocational training and toolkits for skilled returnees like tailoring, mechanics, technicians, and many more. What happens here is that the constraints include limited capacity and geographical centralization in Port Harcourt. Then we also have the Kano State Microcredit Scheme. This offers collateral-free loans, 50,000 naira to 300,000 naira for returnees engaged in trading or artisanal work. High default rates have led to tighter screening and reduced disbursement volume. Now, apart from this, in Kwara State, I also know that they have some kind of program that they hold for the youths and those who are into business to be able to see if their business is viable, and then they empower them. Kwara State have the Kwara State Innovation Hub just close to Kwara Hotel on Ahmedu Bello Way, not far from the government house. So you can go to the Innovation Hub and you can get to know what they are doing there. I think in the Kwara Innovation Hub, there are some programs that they are doing that you can go there for training free of charge. You can go there and be trained free of charge, and then from after the training, you can go on and start offering their service or that skill to get money. State level programs are more accessible than federal interventions, but they suffer from funding volatility, political patronage in beneficiary selection, and limited geographic coverage. Returnees should engage state ministries of commerce, industry, or social welfare for current information. We also have international organizations and NGO support. International organizations and non-governmental actors have announced targeted support. International Organization for Migration, IOM. They provide reintegration assistance, including skills training, psychological support, and limited business grants for verified returnees. However, eligibility is restricted to those who went through official repatriation channels, excluding many who returned independently. Then we also have the United Nations Development Program. This supports, that's UNDP, supports livelihood programs in partnership with state governments, focusing on vocational training and cooperative formation. Access is mediated through government partners, creating bottlenecks. Then we also have the non-governmental organizations like Action Aid, Caritas, Red Cross, and many more. They offer emergency relief, skills training, and micro grants. However, coverage is sporadic and sustainability beyond initial support is limited. We also have international support is consequential but constrained by eligibility criteria, limited funding, and dependence on government cooperation. And sometimes when they cooperate with the government, according to what we see in some circles and what we hear, is that when they cooperate with the government still introduce bureaucratic bottlenecks to the programs. Returnees should register with IOM or relevant state agencies to improve access to NGO programs. Then number one, I talk about is federal, then state, then I talk about the NGO. Number three, now number four is private sector and fintech interventions. Private sector actors have introduced targeted financial products like fintech lending platforms, e.g., Fair Money, Carbon, Branch. They offer quick disposal microloans, 10,000 to 500,000, sometimes millions. They with minimal documentation. However, the interest rates are high, 20% to 40% in maybe 3 to 6 months. So be very, very careful of these ones. And default penalties are severe. Returnees with unstable income face significant repayment risks. Then we also have corporate social responsibility programs. Some banks and telecommunication companies and many other corporate companies, they have this. Many companies also do use this as a kind of tithe or sadaka giving back to the society. So they have a particular percentage of their income which they keep for charity, and they use it for corporate social responsibility programs. Some banks and telecommunication companies offer grants or skills training for returnees. However, these are typically small scale, publicity driven, and geographically limited. So if you are close to the head office of any of the corporate bodies, then approach them and write them and see what can be done. Now, cooperative societies and mutual aid groups. Returnees can join existing cooperatives or form new ones to access pooled savings and group loans. Success depends on trust, governance discipline, and member commitment. Private sector interventions offer speed and flexibility, but often at high cost or limited skill. Returnees must critically access repayment terms and avoid over-leveraging. Number 5 is critical constraints across all programs. Several structural constraints limit the effectiveness of support programs. Infrastructure is one of them. Infrastructure is one of those constraints. Thus, information asymmetry is one of them. Beg your pardon. Many of the people, many returnees are unaware of available programs or lack guidance on application processes. And that's why I'm making this video, to let them know, because it is said information leon info. If you don't have information, you cannot fly. Then documentation requirements. Formal registration, identification, and business plans exclude those without prior formalization. If you want to write a business plan, maybe a returnee, I want to write a business plan or feasibility study, I can help you to do it for free. If you are returning from South Africa, in the next 30 days of showing this video being uploaded, and you contact me that you're returning from South Africa, or let me just make it open to anyone who wants to write a business plan. You tell me the business you want to go into, and I want to do a detailed business plan feasibility study for you. Business plan or feasibility study is just to show you the loopholes in the business and how you can overcome them, where the need for the business, how you can make profit, the profit margin you can make, where you can sell to, everything about the business. In the next 30 days of uploading this video, if you contact me for this business plan or feasibility study, I will do one for you for free and send it to you by email. So, political interference is another bottleneck. Beneficiary selection is often influenced by patronage rather than need or merit. Then, funding gaps. Announced programs frequently exceed available budgets, leading to partial implementation. Then we also have the problem of sustainability concerns. One-off grants or support term training do not address long-term livelihood needs. Now, what are my strategic recommendations for those who are just returning from South Africa? Returnees should adopt a critical, evidence-based approach to assessing support. Verify program status. Confirm through official channels. Don't be going through the back door. Before you know, you're going through the back door, somebody will say, bring money for this, bring money for this. The little that you are coming, you that need help, they will take from you again. So, verify program status before you commit to it. Confirm through official channels whether announced programs are active and accepting applications. Then assess eligibility realistically. Understand documentation, collateral and registration requirements before investing time in the application process. Then diversify support sources. Do not rely on only a single program. Combine government, NGO, private sector options where it is available. Then build documentation. Obtain necessary identification, register businesses formally, and maintain records to prove access to formal support. Avoid overdependence. Programs should complement, not replace, personal initiatives and income generation efforts. So if it takes you to do some manual jobs to be able to keep body and soul together, do it while you are trying to assess support. In conclusion, support programs for South African returnees in Nigeria or any other African countries exist. Find out from your local population, from where you are, but are fragmented, underfunded, and constrained by structural inefficiencies. Returnees must approach these interventions critically, recognizing that they are not entitlements but competitive opportunities with significant access barriers. Sustainable reintegration will depend less on external support and more on individual agency. Strategic planning and adaptive entrepreneurship, government and civil society must improve program design, transparency, and implementation. But returnees cannot wait for perfect conditions before acting. The path forward requires pragmatism, not just optimism. I believe that you have gained value from this video on how South African returnees in Nigeria or other African countries can be able to navigate and get grants and support while they try to settle down in the country where they have returned to. I'm going to talk to you in the next one. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, share a link of this video with family and friends. I'm making 7 videos to be able to help those who have returned from South Africa due to the xenophobic attack in South Africa. I'm making just 7 videos to help them, specifically for them. But there are thousands of videos on this channel teaching you how to make money, both online and offline. I know that all who went to South Africa, they went basically, number one reason is because of they want to make money. So you can still make the money anywhere you are by following the steps I have given in the different videos I have on this channel. I make a boast to say that if you watch my videos for 3 to 6 months, you watch one video daily and you take action on that one video every day, one video you take action, the next video you take action, the next video you take action. So you watch 90 videos and you are taking action on those 90 videos, your life is going to change. How much more if you now watch 180 videos, which gives you 6 months? I'm telling you, your life is going to be transformed totally. Even you will not recognize yourself again. All this I say because I've seen it work and I've seen it happen even in my own life too. So this is I'm going to stop for now. Please keep coming back to this channel. Share the link of this video and this channel with other people that have returned from South Africa and every other person you know anywhere in the world. Until I come your way in the next one, enjoy.